Hello everyone, welcome to our episode 6 at How We Grow with Kai. And today a new episode, we will talk about different topic again with Jim. So today I will ask some question to Jim and we will discuss a bit about the analytics, how we work with analytics in like a startup. How did we create something different than other company and try to make something cool. So yeah, how are you, Jim?
Doing great, yeah, thank you.
Look like the last time, or the two episodes ago, you was also in this rooftop with the
Yeah,
beautiful view, but a bit warm today.
a bit hotter, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I guess we were both living in Lisbon, and it's 35-degree during the afternoon, so yeah, it's a bit complex. Yeah, looking forward because guys, next week we have our third hackathon here in Lisbon. We'll have the whole team, so it's gonna be awesome. We will make some great content also, and probably very different episode for the whole rigor, but let's see. So today, a very deep topic. I said analytics. We'll give you a bit of context, and then I will let you the mic, Jim. But yeah, when we started working together at Morgan in February, Jim come across during a daily update, a daily meeting with a dashboard that literally not shocked but kind of the whole team. And this dashboard was very very amazing regarding the data because it was explaining a lot of things regarding how traffic, how grow. Literally, it was taking the whole growth funnel information in a centralized dashboard, and it was amazing. And the whole team was like, "That's nice." And yeah, Jim decided to reproduce that during the last days for and yeah, so today we will discuss about that because for sure we have some tools like Retool or Plausible or more Amplitude that answer a lot of questions regarding the data in app or in our website. But we have to manage different tools. And yeah, Jim come with this dashboard, and yeah, it was kind of impressive when we see that because as you know, in a company it's very complicated to find the right data for the right person. It depends of the dashboard, and if we have that thousand of dashboard, it's very complicated to have the same information. So yeah, here Jim come across this and create an amazing dashboard. So yeah, let's talk a bit about that. We will obviously share with you the dashboard, and I think it's very very important for a company, even for a little like startup, to see this and how it's work because it help a lot to make like a strategical decision in a company or in like basically in every project that you have on your company. It's very important to have this data like aligned with the product, the traffic, and the revenue. So let us know a bit more about that, Jim. Let just tell me why, how did you had this idea, and why did you do that?
Yeah, so why we did it is because the data is always coming from multiple sources, and in our case we have traffic that is coming from Plausible. We run Google Ads, and so we also have some analytics that come from the Google Ads platform. And let's say that's everything. Top of funnel is like how much traffic do we have on our website, and then if people decide to sign up, we have to use another tool in house. We use Amplitude. So there's a bunch of events that we fire and so on, and we can very well see what's happening inside Amplitude. But the problem with Amplitude is that it's not super well connected to the top of funnel, so everything's that's happening before users join the app, and it's connected to our revenue, but not in the most perfect way. And so revenue, as it is described by Amplitude, isn't actually a source of truth. It's more like a proxy for revenue. And the actual source of truth for revenue in our case was a paddle, and so we've used also like some other tools for analytics to understand MRR and churn and lifetime value and so on. And so as you can see, we have these named 3 or 4 tools that we use to understand like the whole user journey. But there's a lot more, like if we are active on LinkedIn and we have impressions on our post, that's tracked separately. There's Google Search Console, which is another tool to understand like how organic traffic is growing. And we can add many, many, many depending on the strategies that we're doing. And so the problem when we have these very disconnect sources is that it's very hard to read in one snapshot. Like usually you have to go across all of these different tabs and windows and understand, okay, if traffic is growing but signups are not, like what's happening. And the problem really comes from like the moment you start centralizing everything in one view, you can start seeing like areas that you would have overlooked if that wasn't the case. And so for me, that the first reason why we wanted to do this was, okay, let's put all our data in just one central place so that we can look at it in one shot. And that's the reason why I started connecting this data. Now, many teams use tools like Metabase, or they build their own data lake, and then they have like their own custom solutions for this and so on. And in a way, we decided to drop any existing tools out there. So for example, Metabase is something we've used in the past, but we didn't want to go for this. In-house, we already had Retool as well, which kind of lets you build your own dashboards for analytics and so on. And we tried it like 6 months ago. We were using Retool, but also part of the, I guess, design decisions I made in building these analytics dashboard is that these tools, they're great, but they were great up until, October 2025. Because after this period, AI became so good at understanding data and generating code that creating a dashboard manually in Metabase or in Retool or in any other platform, even in Amplitude, creating a dashboard where you're trying to answer a data question actually takes a lot more time than just asking an LLM to do it. And so that's really the rationale. It's, first of all, let's centralize all of the data in one place. And then second of all, it's let's make sure we can have a kind of a data analyst as a service. So someone that we can ask questions and they bring back answers. And we can ask those questions in plain English. And we do that by asking, in our case, it's Claude. And so we literally query our data pipeline for information such as, hey, tell me how many users fired this event in the past 7 days, who came from this ad campaign that we're running. And so that's kind of the premise of why we built that, is to answer these two questions.
This is interesting because, as you said before, so we had different tools. For me personally, I had the feeling that the tool that we use, for example, I never used Retool before because I never deep dive on the dashboard, and I never find the key how to work with it. And also now today, what you build is also something that we can update by ourselves. Like literally, if I want to create a personal branch, of this dashboard and having a different data that help a lot, like on my use case. And I think, I don't know what is your thought about that, but what do you build is very interesting because of every part of the team can have different needs regarding data. Like a developer don't need the same data than a growth guy or than the CTO or CEO. Each of them will need a different kind of data to answer the problem, to take strategical decision. And having this help a lot to just build very fast something that is linked with a lot of tools. I do think it's very interesting way to work, and that help a lot.
Yeah. And it's true that in terms of accessibility and user experience, this is way easier to use. Like you just go on the dashboard and most metrics are already there. And if you don't find the metrics, like you say, you just go in our GitHub and you ask Claude, hey, can you pull that or can you build this dashboard? And it does it. And I remember when I joined Morgan in October, like we were using Amplitude, and Amplitude is not a very easy tool to use, but it's manageable. But the problem is we had like 15 events that had the same name, and only like a couple of people within the organization knew like which one would have data hygiene. Like everyone needs to understand like what is the source of truth. And back in the days when I joined, we didn't have that, and so using Amplitude just made that problem even more painful. And so I went through also like a bit of data hygiene and making sure that we could tell for sure, okay, when we look at signups, this is the metric we're looking at. Not that one, not this one, not this one. And so now, we kind of aligned the whole team, and I guess Claude and the documentation now is set in stone on what metrics is a source of truth. And now there's no more like doubt, and you can just ask an AI and he pulls the right metrics. And this is the work also like this is the more the technical work that happened on how you build the pipeline behind the scenes and how you connect different metrics together and make sure that the AI understands the connections there's among these different metrics.
I have a lot of questions regarding that, even personal question. I mean, looking this dashboard, but I think it's very important for people that will see this podcast to just share how it look, because it's maybe not very clear for them. Look the dashboard and let them see maybe how far can we go. So yeah, let's deep dive on it. I think you got it in under your computer. Let's see the different parts of the growth, and maybe it could be interesting to understand the source of your data and to see like where we find this or these sources.
Yeah. Well, so before I share, I think indeed like it's important to understand the source, and there's some things that you can and cannot do, and it always depends on whether you're able to associate a specific event or a specific property to a unique user, because you can't always do that. For example, when we use Plausible, Plausible is GDPR friendly by default, and so it doesn't remember users. Like it tracks meta users. It understands how many users we had today or right now in this very minute, where they clicked, whether they converted, where they came from. But we cannot then link this analytics to the app. And so if we wanted to understand like the entire user journey of a user in app that, for example, starts paying, and we wanted to know what happened before, like what ad they clicked or what pages they saw, we had to use a different solution than Plausible. And for us, that solution meant building our internal data tracking pipeline where we save all of this information directly on our backend. So, for example, when someone clicks an ad, they have a cookie ID, and then when they sign up, we fetch that cookie ID and we paste it, literally, we print it in our backend, and so that's always true. It's always there. We can always link the user line in the backend back to this data analytics, right? And so with this in mind, we were able to connect the entire funnel, and we still benefit from the overall analytics from Plausible. So we know, okay, how many people we had on the website, where they clicked, and so on. So this dashboard is so it's split in 3 sections for us. So there's everything growth related, which is really the typical like pirate funnel. So awareness, I fine-tuned it a bit for our use case, but you can recognize awareness, acquisition. So awareness is how many people, I guess, are aware of our brand, or how many interactions they have with our brand. Acquisition is really like signups. Then activation is that always depends on the activation metrics that we use, but it's once a user signs up, do they do a meaningful action? Like, do they experience value with the app by doing a specific action? And then you have revenue, so whether these users start paying, how much do they pay, how long do they keep paying, and so on. And then we added, so typically this is used, this is labeled as a referral in the pirate funnel, but here we use virality. So it's called pirate funnel because it's ARR, so it's R. But in our case, yeah, we prefer to use virality, and it's a pipeline we're building soon. And I've added traffic, so I've split awareness and traffic. Then we have product analytics. So right now we only focus on usage and cost. And then we have also like just a simple snapshot here of whether this dashboard is healthy and when the last metrics were pulled. Now, before I start showing you this, like this is a sample dashboard. This is exactly how our dashboard looks, but we've put fake data because we cannot share all the data publicly, unfortunately. But so let me walk you through what this looks like. And I think so every entry here, growth, for example, is an entry point, and so now we're in the growth section. And the first thing here is it gives us an overview of what's happening in growth. So everything works in funnels, so we can see how many visitors we had in the last 30 days, how many people expressed interest on the landing, how many people signed up, activated, retained, and then started paying, right? And so immediately here we can kind of see like the shape of our funnel. Then we can see the same funnel here, so how far people went down the funnel, but then we split by the channel that they came from, so whether they came from organic search, and then we can see, okay, we have 33 signups from organic search, and 55% of them activated. But for another another channel, maybe paid search, is going to be a different activation rate, but also a different sign-up volume and so on. And so when we look at this, the whole idea is to understand what are the channels that work, like what are the channels that bring traffic, or not traffic, that bring signups to Kai, but then like, are these signups high quality? So do they activate? Do they retain once they start using the app? Like, do they keep using it after the first week of signing up? And then do they start paying? And so this is really how we can start identifying like outliers, and we can be like, okay, organic search is working well for us because of these reasons. And then you have the deep dives, right? And the deep dives is what I showed before. So every entry is a separate dashboard. And so in our case, I can show you what awareness looks like. But awareness for us, we're doing a bunch of efforts across different social media. So Lambert is creating content on Instagram and TikTok. The whole team is active on LinkedIn, where we post from our personal profiles, and we're kind of like building in public. And then Danny is taking over YouTube to do more long-form content. And we also wanted to capture that, right? Every view on YouTube matters, every view on Instagram matters. Not per view, but more like at 1,000 view level, it starts being important, because then we can see whether this can transform into traffic. And so we track that. We have a dedicated pipeline for each source. We use like API, where we fetch the data, and we can pull that into the dashboard. And of course, we can always deep dive in a specific section. So let's say you want to deep dive in LinkedIn. You can go deeper in LinkedIn analytics and understand how it is that we have 150,000 impressions. And then you can see we have the different people in the team that create content, how many posts they created, the impressions they've had, and so on. And you might even be able to check a specific LinkedIn's user view to understand what is the specific post that drove impressions and how. And of course, this is extremely micro, and rarely we'll go like to that level of detail to understand like why we're growing. But the whole idea is we're not focusing on a specific Instagram post or a specific YouTube video or LinkedIn post. It's really just we're doing that, we're investing effort, and we want to track these metrics. And after 30 days or 90 days, we want to be able to measure the overall impact of that. And whether we have 10,000 impressions or a million actually matters a lot. And so yeah, that's for the awareness pipeline. And from here, you can really either just navigate to a different section. So I can show you here what traffic looks like. Or you can simply here navigate left and right to go every time one step down the funnel. Right, but so traffic is the same way. We can see daily visitors, the top pages they've been seeing, top sources, and so on. But I think the value of this really lies in being able to connect the data in one single view. So for me, it's really in the growth section here, where you have these funnels views. These ones are typically really hard to build. As I said before, they live on different platforms. And typically it requires engineering or data analysts for multiple weeks to connect these data and make sense of it. And for us, this work was done fairly quickly, and then building it and making it visible and being able to create charts out of it is actually really helpful. And so the version that you're seeing now is really, it's a version 0.1. Like, it's nearly like I started building like the first few charts and graphs that were immediately useful for us. But there's going to be a lot more as we start growing and as we start building. There's going to be a lot more charts. And so, for example, for Morgan, we have a lot of very deep funnel views, split by cohort, understanding how they grow month over month, and so on. And so this is, of course, going to continue growing. And I can show you some of the other section, but I think you start getting the idea. It's always like the same kind of data that we're showing for every different step of the funnel. Then for product analytics, what we do is also tracking stuff such as usage. So here we can track daily, weekly, and monthly active users for Kai, so we can see whether that's healthy. And again, the value lies in the fact that acquisition is connected to that. And so if we wanted to split or to put a filter like show only active users from organic search, this is one question away. We just need to ask Claude and we can do it. And of course, in the future, we'll add some smart filters here so that we can do it immediately without having to ask an LLM. But that's as we keep building. And yeah.
Nice. Like it to be honest. This is something like very useful. I do have some questions, even to help me to understand a bit more about this dashboard. But like when I was navigating on for example, on the acquisition port, how did we can have any information in a specific page?
Is it organic search? Like when someone types a keyword?
Yeah, basically, yeah, can be not a very specific. It can be like a organic search or or ads or whatever. But just to understand if I really want to deep dive in analysis to make strategical decision, for example, on the I don't know if I want to develop my product in different languages, but I don't know what languages is better for meetings or whatever. How can I find the data that will help me to understand this kind of information?
Yeah. Well, you can only use the data that you have, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
so I don't know in the example of the language, like, I don't know how that would work. But every bit of data that we have access to is connected here. So you can ask extremely specific questions. You for example, let's say I don't know, you're running ads and you want to expand on a new country for a specific keyword, like for in our case, for example, executive assistant. And let's say we run a test for 20 days and we go to Germany and we bet on that keyword and we allocate, I don't know, $500. You'll be able to ask, like in 20 days, how many people clicked my ad for that specific keyword in Germany? How much did that cost? And how many of these users signed up? How many of these users used the feature ABC in app and then stayed on the platform and paid after 5 days? Like you can get down to that level of detail because again, all of these steps are connected. Now, if you want to ask, for example, if you want to ask like how many people who searched on Google organically a specific keyword and converted, that's actually something you can't do because you're blocked at some point. You cannot connect queries that happen in Google Search Console to anything else happening after the SERP, right? This is a hard block from Google. So you can't do that, but this is not a problem that any other tool can solve. But of course, this platform, what is nice is that it's because everything is centralized, it allows you to do a lot of proxy. And so let's say you want to understand whether your ranking and a specific keyword or query is working well for you. Normally, you can't connect that end to end, but you're able to do proxies, right? You can see how many clicks you've had organically for a specific page. And then you can use Plausible to check traffic that comes from organic search. And so this is very like similar values. And then you can use the pipelines that we have in the backend to understand, well, if a user comes organically and the first page they visited was page X, then you can start doing these proxies for organic search. I don't know if this answers your question, but I've been trying to ask very, very, very specific questions, especially for Morgan when I'm doing some reporting, and it nails it every single time. So yeah, there's no limit.
Yes. My question was not that clear, but I was coming from your first example, just to let people understand that when you say we ask literally, because it's something it's not magic. So we can use any LLM to check this data, right? This is the point when you say we ask. And this is the power of what you build. Because when I ask you from a very deep information, it's just to explain to people that you can use whatever Claude or ChatGPT now to have access to this data and then to ask every question that you need and that you want. And this is the very thing that is powerful when you want to make a strategical decision. Because I remember 1 year, 10 months ago, when we was at a book club, I remember we was sitting down together and taking a Claude linked with Google Search Console, and we got this haha moment when we start to asking Claude about just like how was the traffic on our website coming from these keywords in Brazil. And we was like, this is amazing because it take literally 2 seconds, and if you want to find this information, you need to tune a bit the filter and everything. And what you did now, it help us to have like a LLM view, just a chat, to also, in bonus, to have this dashboard. You can just ask the LLM, but regarding the whole data that we have. This is, I think, the thing that helped a lot us today to understand everything about our growth funnel.
Yeah, of course. Like the what we've seen now, the dashboard is kind of the facade, and it's what we've decided to build so far. But as you say, I think the real value lies in so this dashboard. It's a repo, and the repo lives in our knowledge base, and it's connected to where we work, right? So the beauty of it is mostly in the backend, is in the behind the scene. Claude has direct access to the pipeline, so everything is API connected. We don't use MCP because MCPs are way too token, intensive. And so everything is connected in our knowledge base. And so the beauty of it is when let's say we're running a project update. So we've seen in the past like how we use sprints and how we document every project we've done, and how any task and any commit that we do is saved in the repo, and then we use it for sprints. Now if you have analytics on top of that, it makes it so easy to ask Claude, hey, look at everything we've done over the past 8 weeks, look at what happened in the pipelines, and help us match. Like, did Lambert work that he said he did it bring impressions in Instagram? Did the homepage redesign increase conversion rates? And I think it's when you're able to not only chat with the AI and ask questions, but also when it has enough context that it can start mapping things for you. That's when you have really a winning scenario and a winning landscape. And as models get better, they will also get so much better at understanding and being able to map cause to consequence, and whether specific action drove specific results, because it has access to both. It has access to what you did, and it has access to the results it has.
It's exactly the point that I want to go now. Of course, you can find all information, but also I think something that is very interesting to share with people. So you create this all connections, which is very powerful. And at some point, there is also, I think, another problem that help you a lot when it comes to have some report for a project, or monthly report or annually report, that help a lot for you to find the data, and also to just build the report by just create maybe template or something. I don't know how it works for you, or how you do this. So I think that helped, and let us know a bit more about that, because I think it's also one of the key thing that starting. That's why you start to iterate on this, because I will say that is a big winning time for us.
Yeah, for sure. Like for me, I was really, I guess, solving a personal problem. Like, it's in the past 4 years, like I've done monthly reports every month, and it's always the same problem. It's data you need to fetch in different places, but then you need to take a screenshot and put it in Notion, and then start commenting why it happened and so on. And I genuinely, I'd spend like probably a day or up to a day and a half every month doing that, and that went from a day and a half to now to then asking Claude to generate a report. But now it's like I've created a skill to generate a report, and so the last time I ran the monthly report, I was like on a scooter on my phone, and I just asked Claude, like, run the monthly report. And that's something that used to take me a day and a half, and this is only possible because you start having this entire analytics and pipeline connected. So so I think it's really coming down to solving this personal problem, and trying to save time for myself, for the team. And I also know, like, whenever you onboard somebody new on the team and they need to start knowing like your data stack and where to fetch information, like this can take several months before someone is versed in data and they understand where to go and what to fetch. Now it's literally like, if we hired someone tomorrow, I'd give them this, and I'll just tell them, if you have questions, just ask Claude, because everything is documented. And there won't be even any questions, because now a sign up is a sign up and a revenue is revenue. And so I think it's so helpful in so many ways, and it goes way beyond just visibility and being able to bring to build cool dashboards or have a source of truth. It's also like, now you're able to connect that to actions, you're able to onboard teammates quickly, you're saving time and so on. So winning points across the whole landscape.
Yeah, that's funny. What you just say here. I remember that I see an interview of a French guy saying, if you want to be good using AI, you have to be lazy. And this is literally a good use case here. You was a bit lazy of making this every month, and you want to just kill this friction of create every time, iterate, check where the data, if everything is aligned. And I think it's for this project also, but for whatever we do, we're a bit lazy, but in the good, not in the bad way, you see. And this is how today I think it's very important to work with AI. If you are too lazy, for sure, it's not gonna work. But if you have this mindset of, I'm pretty sure I can optimize this, and I will take these 2, 3, 4 days to create this pipeline to have this, for example, the dashboard, and then I will take 10 minutes every month to have those dashboard. That's a big win, and for those people that don't want to do it, at the end they just have to work 4 hours every month on this, and it take it take a time. And also at the end, as you say, the LLM models are very smarter and smarter, so the analyses are way better, and after for sure we can just take those analyses and polish them with the context that maybe the LLM don't have. But yeah, this is a very interesting part, and I think that makes sense. Now today we are a very AI native company, and for whatever we do, we try to optimize every pipeline, every funnel that we are working on with AI, and trying to polish everything. Nice. So then some other question regarding this, mostly like I think it's very interesting for people to understand, okay, there is a big win with this, and we can see them, but I'm pretty sure there is also some bad consequences, or we'll say frictions that can be a mess at some point. And do you have any example of when you are watching those dashboard, or when you was building this, you are like, maybe we will miss that, or maybe not. I don't know. Just asking because like since 30-40 minutes we're talking about that, like it's magical, but definitely I don't know if today a big company want to do that. Is it possible, or does it little startup, and maybe also depend of the kind of data that you want to bring here?
No, it is really just magical. There's no downside. The problem is there's a immense risk in making sure you're building it right, because if you think you're pulling data A and you're actually pulling B or A but 7 days ago, like if you're pulling the wrong data, it's hard to tell until you actually check with the other source of truth that you have. So for example, let's say you're fetching Google Search Console click with LLMs. It's vital that you check that the output matches what Google Search Console says. And it's the same for signups and for revenue and monthly, blah, blah, blah. Like every metric we've built, we first checked it to make sure it was correct, because if you miss that, you're screwed for life. So that's the first thing. I think what's really hard to do, and it's so much easier if it's a new company or if it's a startup, and it gets harder as the company grows in size, but it's reconciling data. And I gave the example of like traffic it's not always possible to reconcile it with what's happening in app or Google Search Console clicks. But then if you add like a company that does B2B and they use like a CRM where they have their deals with outbound email sequences, open rates, and then maybe they have deals that they close or that are still open and so on. And this is another analytics layer of the CRM. It's usually harder to reconcile that with your traffic growth and maybe signups that come from a B2C channel. So of course, as your company grows and as you have more streams of revenue or more good, it starts getting harder to reconcile all the data, but I think it's possible. And the previous company that I was working at, it was a company of basically between 50 and 100 people, and those are problems they were trying to solve, right? Like trying to reconcile the data. And so it shows that if it's done the right way, this solution would work just perfectly. And I'm sure that if we tried building this solution for a company that size, it would take 2 weeks and then maybe 4 weeks of hygiene, checkup, maintenance, and cleanups, and then it would be live. Like it's that much time that it takes so that you have your data problem solved for life. So it's these are the things. Now, some of the things as well is I highly recommend going with API. The reason is uh, I feel like it's more reliable. I'm not sure of that, but an MCP fetches data from the source and it returns like strings of text. For example, if you ask Google Search Console MCP clicks from yesterday, it will literally send back like number of clicks like in a table. And the problem with that is that it's text that is going to be interpreted by an LLM. And so those are getting better and better, but there's still sometimes hallucination, and I think there might be a risk. But the real problem with MCPs is that when it returns a string of text, it counts tokens, right? So if you fetch enormous lines of data from tables and so on for the last 365 days, it's going to consume a huge amount of tokens. While an API, it's hard coded, it's a Python code, it's a Python script that lives directly on your computer, so it saves the LLM a lot of tokens. And then I guess it's reconciling the data, making sure you're using the right source of truth. For us, it meant working closely with the CTO as well to ensure that I'm pulling from the right source, it's properly defined. But besides from that, like if the job is done well, there's only upside from this.
Yeah, I see. And maybe a stupid question here, but I'm not sure about the strategical decision that we make. Those they are better than before, or like we taking the same decision, but we just win a lot regarding the time that we analyze this data. You see the
it's both, because if you're able to fetch answers much faster, like it's not because we can fetch answers in 5 minutes that we're spending 5 minutes a month on data. We're still spending a day and a half, but before we were spending a day and a half and we would create one report. Now we're spending a day and a half, but we're able to fetch a report and then be like, okay, actually let's use this filter and that and this metrics and this. So we're able to go a lot deeper on what we do. We're fetching answer faster and we're able to interpret results better. So we're being a lot smarter about the decisions we make. It's a huge strategic impact having that, and it comes from the fact that it's readily available and all you gotta do is ask. Like if before you'd had to build your dashboard, put the filters, the dates, the time frame, the charts, the colors, share it with someone, like that already takes an hour. Now you just press your function key, ask Whisperflow to fetch data, and you wait. And while you wait, you go for a coffee or you do something else, and you come back and 2 minutes later you have your answer.
I love love this illustration of
this is how I work. Like it's true. I do my query and then I go fetch a coffee, come back, it's done.
Yeah. That's true. Nice, amazing. This is so fast. I retake the example that I shared before, but 10 months ago we had this haha moment to have a little connection between an LLM and Google Search Console, and today we just build an entire dashboard including all our data, making it readable for the whole company. And as you say, I think it's very, very important to create the good of your dashboard and then keep going on with it. And I know that for you now, we are working together since 1 year. And I know you are very data driven, so that's helped a lot for the company when you have those kind of guy that a lot of idea regarding the growth side, but also is very, very data driven. And to create also for you, it's very important to create those kind of dashboard, but it's help a lot when you understand the whole funnel. And maybe for a new company, as you said, it's gonna be the challenge is not to create this, but yes, but the way is making sure that it's well created and having the good data at the good moment of the growth funnel. Yeah, this is super interesting how far we can go today.
Yeah, indeed.
And I don't know what's gonna be the next step, because
next step, so we're gonna keep building this dashboard. As I said, this is a V0.1, so everything is yet to come. Our Morgan dashboard is already way more advanced in that regard, and so we're gonna continue keep building on. We're gonna keep continuing building this, and then I think what's next is we're gonna be trying to fetch more of this data. We're gonna be trying to generate some more revenue, understand where it comes from. There's a lot of the revenue pipeline that still needs to build because we're still pre-revenue, so there's a lot of it that is still untouched. And yeah, generally speaking, what's next is still very, very much focused on acquisition and activation right now. So having more people try out Kai, and then making sure that when they start using the app, they find value. So we're iterating a lot as well on the onboarding right now, and how what we funnel users into doing, and what first actions they should be making. A lot of design and product decisions around that. And yeah, as I said, acquisition, that's a lot of content across social media, continuing on the SEO and so on. So yeah, I think we're very busy for the next couple of months before we launch on the 1st of September.
Yeah, yeah, indeed. Maybe a point that is very important it's a bit linked with what you just said, but it's also a challenge for us to find the best moment and place to capture some data on the website and on the product to make sure that at the end for this kind of dashboard you have something very useful, because if you track everything, you will have a lot of noise. But if you don't track the good moment, like the good CTA, the good also in app to make sure that your North Star metric is the good one, everything, pretty good. That help a lot, because if you move a lot during the months after months, then your data is, you cannot compare your data months over months or year over year. And it's maybe now today the challenge. I mean, of for sure creating this dashboard is a good part, but also make sure that in app and in the website you do have something that well built to have this value after on this dashboard. That's the key. Nice. I think we are over timed. Yeah, we'll say the other question that I have was not very linked deeply with this. Do you have anything else to say before leaving this episode here?
No, I think we covered it all.
Nice, nice. So what's next? What's next next week's?
So already said. So acquisition, activation, continuing on the data,
And hackathon all
and
together.
hackathon next week. Yeah, of course.
That's gonna be sick. That's gonna be sick.
Yeah.
Then I think we're good for this episode. And yeah, we will be all together again next week with new topics, deep diving on acquisition, making sure that people are using and Kai, and improving everything. Also, we published the new website. You can take a look now. And yeah, that's it. That's it for today. Then yeah, see you next week for the episode 7. We'll see. Maybe in video, maybe in real life. That's TBD. So yeah, guys, see you, and check the description. We will put the article with more graph and data that can help you to create your own dashboard for your AI native company. See you, guys.
See you.